Overrated episode 10 with the exit of EnVyUs from the semifinals and them not making the finals. There's actually one interesting aspect of that loss that we saw, and it's the death of the one tricks, right? So who was the last one trick, Carl?
Effect easy. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
Because it was also the last of Tracer one tricks. We had like Genji one tricks, who are you know, Arhan up to a point, not so much because he has flexed to some Tracer this season as well. But in the Tracer category, we had so many one tricks since, you know, the domination of Sun in the West, and it's really interesting to see that today was the day where the last of them, effect basically, where he was heralded as, like, you know, the savior of TM Envy, as the missing component, the thing that will elevate them. And although he did in at some up to a point, right? He elevated the game. He filled some role that wasn't filled before. The whole team struggled a lot, even with him on. And it's really interesting to see that he is out as well. It's really fascinating for me, like the death of one tricks in Apex season 3.
Yeah, let's quickly quantify what we mean by one tricks, because like people will then say, well, you know, someone played 45 seconds of Zenyatta there. Is he really one trick? Yeah, he absolutely is a one trick at this point, right? So what do you think is like at what point does someone not become a one trick anymore? How long does he need to have playtime on a specific hero?
I mean, what I'm calling right now one trick it's like players with close to 100% of playtime on one specific hero. It's not even like 80% or 90% or, you know, or anything. Like, it's almost like close to 100% in every game, in every match. You don't see them changing, and up to a point, like the Tracer, you don't really need to change because she has mobility. And a nice thing to note in this meta is that you don't have stall picks that much, right? You don't really flex to other heroes to stall the point because everyone is already on the heroes that have the highest mobility, and therefore they're going back on the point. So it's really hard to get Tracers off their Tracer hero. Yeah, I think that anyone with 10% on another hero during a tournament is not a one trick, because 10% is like, you know, I've also done it with my infographics where I didn't present any lower than 10% pick rate of heroes, because their minutes max are really, like, the stats are skewed in a great way, since you can have like they can play that hero for 10%, but on matches that they're having, like, you know, other difficulties, or they perform very great, and therefore it's like a real dot performance or a really bad performance. There is no middle ground. If they have 10% on another hero, or more than 10%, basically 50%, 15%, 12%, 14%, I don't consider them one tricks, because that 10% of playtime during a tournament is enough time to know so that this hero has been used in a variety of strategies on a variety of maps. So the main hero has been dropped in many cases. That's my definition of one trick, at least. Other people, they think like one trick is to play because of the meta, but for me it's not like that.
Yeah, I think we need to have one more asterisk, in the sense that, for instance, someone like a tank player, for instance, let's take Miro, because he's still in the tournament and he obviously plays a bunch of Winston, right? So if we are looking at the statistics of his playtime, he currently has 6 hours on Winston and 15 minutes on Reinhardt, and that's about what he played this season, right? Is he a one trick?
No, main tank players are not one tricks, because it depends on the meta they're playing. So, for example, Miro falls in the category of main tank players, like Coco, like Nox right now, like Fisher, Bunker, all these guys. So these main tank players flex between two heroes in every meta given up to this point. Like, it's either Reinhardt or Winston. They don't flex in any other heroes, because the category of tanks is so limited in options that gives you to play the heroes, that really restricts your, the composition. Right? If you have two tank players,
Yeah.
and it's like either Winston or Reinhardt for one of them, and then it's like Zarya, Diva for the other, for the off tank player. I mean, Orisa hasn't been really figured out yet, so as to know that her place composition wise. So maybe the tank player, the main tank player, also flexes to Orisa in the future. We'll see that, but right now, because of the tank category and the limitations with it, I mean, Roadhog isn't really a main tank, right? He's like a third DPS, a second DPS. Back in the day when his one-shot potential was really high, he was like the opener, getting picks right away and all this stuff. So if you take the category, also in the healer, it's the same in the healers category. You don't really have this many options, but in the DPS category, every hero can make like an upset, except right now the Reaper. Like Reaper is like the hero that doesn't fit in any meta right now because of his skills, his toolkit, right? His skills are useless, almost useless. Even McCree has seen more time, even like a wildcard or on sub-specific maps than Reaper. So when you have like those 5 heroes in the DPS category, at least to flex into, and you only stick to one of them constantly, and then you have like the other player flexing to 4 heroes or 5 heroes, or I mean, if we check Effect and Taimu for Team EnVyUs right now, so Effect is like the Tracer guy, like that only, and Taimu flexes to Sombra, he flexes to Soldier, he flexes to Reaper sometimes, he also flexes to Pharah, he has played Pharah as well. Effect hasn't flexed to anything. Even even in easy games, like just to give him a different base, or to fit the other opponents that they will face later on the tournament false information, like he can bring it up or to confuse them or anything like that. He hasn't. He's been like sticking on Tracer, and that's why I think he's one trick. Whereas like healers, like players who play Ana or they're forced to play Lucio, it's because like the skill set is so mandatory in all the meta so far that it's not that they want to be on that role, but someone has to play that role because it really brings so much to the table. So you can't really say that I will flex to Torbjorn easily. You need to have a very specific strat like Numbani, for example, where support players flex to Torbjorn, but you don't see them flexing to other heroes so much because it's the category that they don't have those as many options as the DPS category. And yeah,
I think that's the most convincing argument for me. Like even if you don't like the statistical definition of the one trick, it is fairly obvious that, like, because I know, like, we were sitting here in TeamSpeak with a couple of others, and often the point came up, like, why is he not switching to Genji, right? The Genji would have been, like, maybe not in the current state of the meta, because Genji is currently also a not questionable, but a more rare pick, right? But like in the middle of the season, or especially in the beginning of the season, we were thinking like Genji is actually, you know, sort of the key to many of these situations, also because he's not susceptible as much to Diva, or at least with his ultimate, right? So it's a strange situation that we hear from EnVyUs. Yeah, he's actually also very good Genji. We never saw it. Not a minute of it we saw, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not a minute of it. It's like not even 1, 2, 3, 5%.
Yeah.
I mean, I put that, you know, that lowest limit to 10%, but it's for Effect, for Suno, for other heroes, and even if you think it like, you know, Tracer is good at tracking, right? Her aim is track based. So another hero who has tracking aim, and also her skill set is almost similar to Tracer with less blinks, is like Sombra. So you see like Chipshagen and Taimu flexing to Sombra, but you don't see Effects flexing to Sombra, which would be like, you know, a pretty close kind of transition, right? It's not like you're going from Genji to Pharah, or from Pharah to McCree, or, you know, this wide range speaks. And what's really bugs me is that even in today's match, I think, was it Rascal or Birdring that brought out the Genji? I mean, Genji has this kind of hidden potential to finish off kills really fast, with no one being able to stop him, right? You can't stop his dash unless there's a trap on the ground or a sleep dash. But when you have like a Zenyatta player on the roster of the opponents, they can't do anything. So in some cases, and we have seen it especially in contenders right now, where they played a lot more Genji, both in AU and NA. In some cases, you would see the kill feed just lighting up with dashes, right? Just like a pinball, like a three kill for Genji. So in some cases, yeah, it's not like he's a mandatory pick on every map for every composition, against every opponent. But in some cases, it's like this kind of toolkit he has, where he can reset his dash on while activating his Dragon Blade, and then he has the deflect. So it's like even when he's in Dragon Blade, he can respond to threats. It's not like Soldier, where it's like if you get shut down by the Diva Metrics, you get shut down the whole skill set. You can't do anything because you have like you only get Sacrificer. You don't have a Helix Showcase, or you don't have anything else so as to to create some kind of damage to the enemies. So yeah, I think some teams have underestimated the potential of Genji to unlock specific points or specific maps.
Yeah.
And exactly what you said, like when you have that player that is like a top tier 1 tracer in the ranks, rather, like, because if you check effects heroes in ranked in Korea, it's like Tracer, Genji, and McCree. I think these are his three top picks, and you don't see him at all. I mean, I don't get why teams narrow down. I mean, I can get that. Yeah, sometimes it's like Tracer Soldier has the sustained damage. They have the better ultimate because like when you go into act with Tactical Visor, you don't miss the shots. But you have to be able to hit people with Tactical Visor. If you have a Diva in front of you and the whole Tactical Visor is negated, what's good in that ultimate, right?
Yeah.
You're betting everything on that ultimate succeeding, but that ultimate has also a high potential to get a high probability to get shut down. Whereas with Genji's ultimate, it's really much harder to shut it down. I mean, you have to have an ultimate, Zenyatta ultimate, or a Lucio barrier, and sometimes some Genjis get their ultimate so fast that they can make it happen. Why has it failed? Like in Arhan's case, in Africa Flix Blues, or in Rock's case where they had Nico but he had to stay on Diva. Well, these are cases where you have to explore match by match. Like for example, that Lunatic High found a counter composition to this specific style of Africa Flix Blue. And again, Africa Flix Blue didn't have really, this kind of depth in their compositions, like Rick Ryan Soldier or the wildcard of McCree. There was nothing in between, right? No Sombra, no anything else. And they have also stated that they were like, we were afraid of teams playing Sombra, like Combo Spirit. We wanted to avoid playing Combo Spirit early on, because we know that they had like, or was it XXC Gaming?
No, they wanted to avoid Conbox, yeah.
Okay, they wanted to avoid because of the Sombra play. So you see, for example, that the depth isn't there. They may have like the player, like the Genji, but sometimes you have to complement the Genji not with a Tracer but with a Soldier or with a Fire or with some other heroes. It doesn't work like the DPS 2 doesn't always work, and this is a depth that we have seen both in Lunatic High so far and going to Panthera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Birdring has flexed to 7 heroes overall. Rascal has also flexed to 7 heroes overall, with Maze also, Widow Maze, all these kind of wildcards, showing that they can, when needed, bring forth this kind of different compositions when they get negated, like when they get denied their usual playstyle. In EnVyUs and in Africa Flix Blue, we haven't seen that, right? They don't go for experimenting, even in the easiest matches, right? Not like when the competition is really strict and it's really hard, but in the easy matches. And this is a nice thing with going to Panthera. In the match versus MyRT, they threw the match away just to test things, like just to get the feel of new compositions, of new ways to approach maps and all these things. Obviously, they had they had passed to the playoffs already, so they could throw this match away, and they also won 2 maps in that match. But this is like the mentality that you want to see from teams. It doesn't really matter if you dominate the lower competition with the tactics that are the best at the time, because if you find like the guys that are ahead of you, above you, it's like it's the same situation, right? They will top you. They
Yeah.
will decimate you. That's why we've seen so many 4-0s in the playoffs. I think.
Let me say that, like, today, Wins made a tweet saying, like, you know, Effectus didn't make it, blah, 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 and basically saying that even though Effect is excellent, they didn't make it out. And why I found this to be so egregious is, like, okay, if we're looking at the playtime of all these heroes, it becomes blatantly obvious that EnVyUs is playing around Effect, right? Like, just look at the percentages of, like, Taimu is playing a shitload of characters, and I sadly can't show it all. If Mickey is flexing onto, you know, Winston or like Torbjörn, then Harry is flexing all around, right? Effect has 5 minutes on Soldier, and then 3 seconds on Hanzo, where he probably shot an arrow on King's Row, right? Good on him, though.
Was it King's Row?
I don't know.
Or Route 66, like,
yeah. Maybe. But even, you know, Coco played an hour of Reinhardt. Chipsayan obviously flexed a bunch, right? This is... And I don't want to even say that this is... I think this is just where they hit their limit, right? In the sense that, okay, this worked just fine. Also because bringing Effect in, the language barrier, maybe it was the best idea to have him only on Tracer, and maybe you need more communication on Genji. I don't know why that would be, though. Like, they just want to have him in a comfortable situation where he can just do his own thing, and where he doesn't need to communicate as much, and then they just play off of it. And obviously the individual performance of the other members will therefore drop because they need to flex off of their main picks. Like, for instance, I personally think that situations would have certainly allowed for Effect to play Genji, so Taimu maybe can play another character that he's more comfortable on, right? But it feels quite obvious that they sacrificed a lot of their personal, you know, not well-being, but comfort levels, right? In order to accommodate for Effects, you know, being new to the team, being like someone that doesn't speak the language. And I think that's almost as much as you can expect from a situation like a semi-final. It's not a bad result for them, right? Given the circumstances.
Not really. So I don't think it's a bad result. I also don't think mentality as a whole going into Korea for season 3 was, you know, the best. We know all the problems that are always during their stay there. I mean, it's definitely going to happen because this is not a one-shot tournament, like a 3 days or a week tournament, like you see in CSGO, where they move around the world constantly. But it's like 3 days and then you're out, right? Or if you're unlucky and you don't go to the full distance to the finals, like 1 or 2 days. So you also have like the time to unwind and to prepare for the next thing and the next thing and all that stuff. But when you're in the league format, this is the problem with Apex up to a point. It's like it's a tournament format, but it spans out. It spans in a very long duration, time, and therefore it's almost like a league. It's almost like a team from Germany or a team from Greece going to play in the league of Britain, for example. I mean, you have to acclimate with yourself with the local culture, the things like your sleep schedule may be a mess, not because of jet lag and statistics, but because like you're in a different culture, you're not really comfortable and all these things. So, but even then, what these results show us that if you have like an easy way out of the group stages of the group stage in Apex, and if you're lucky in your job, okay, this is the mind-blowing thing for me in the whole Apex format, like that they get to pick who they're going to play against, right? It's not like the numbers are, random and they pick the number of the team they're going to face. Okay, no, they're picking the number of the priority order so as to get a team. And this is mind-blowing for me because this shows that's basically the reason why EnVyUs went for X6 gaming straight off the bat in playoffs because they don't like the weaker team and they could kind of win essentially and then move on to the next round and probably go to the semifinals. If you're confident in your own capabilities and your own potential, you don't really go for the weakest picks. You're going for something medium to high. Like I know what they can do, and I also want to get rid of these teams early on, right? Get them out of the tournament. But you've seen that EnVyUs probably didn't have this confidence to go as a top contender. Like, I mean, eventually they were in the semifinals. Yeah, they could make it to the finals. We would have this great storyline with a season 1 winners and versus season 2 winners, if it was meant to be. But again, I don't think they had the confidence. I don't know why they didn't. And the effect thing, although you brought up the communication issue, I also don't think that being on Genji would have much communication problems. Like if you have your strats figured out, what everyone needs to do, and you have prepared for it, like you have practiced it, then he knows what he needs to do in any given situation, right? It's not like he will pop off his blade in the middle of nowhere and start running behind the monkey just to kill the monkey. Like I don't expect that he would do anything that crazy. So the communication affect Widowmaker or affect Winston or affect, you could have it like that focused damage you would expect from a dashing Genji and deflect on all these things, or his ultimate even. I don't think they did it for that. I think it's a general trend in the whole Apex scene right now that Tracer Soldier is more optimal as a duo, as a DPS duo, than Tracer Genji, for example. Even the coach of Atlantic Heights said that.
Mm-hmm.
So with this kind of mindset, if we strictly analyze this kind of mindset, it's like we're going to play this because it's the most optimal time to play. But this can be shut down really easily if the enemy's Winston and Diva are like top tier players, like Fisher. If we bring up, for example, the stats of Fisher before we go and examine like the one tricks in this season, because it wasn't really just affect the one tricks. There were other one tricks, right?
Yes.
Because that's the interesting part. Like almost every team bet it on their one trick, like Bunny from BK Stars or Sebi Olby. Like he didn't flex at all to any other heroes. So if we bring up Fisher's stats right now, we will see a steady rise. Like he struggled a bit in the group stage, but after that he really went off. Like it's not even a joke. This is before today's match, so okay, he had a slowly decline against his death ratio went down and down. That spike versus Mighty Audi probably was due to the testing they did, so you don't really need to pay attention to it. It's like we care about the matches that there were many matches on the line. So yeah, this is the pick. That's inexplicable up to a point because it was the easiest match, but it's like you can really see, yeah. And if you go towards the primary rate graph, further below, you will see that essentially he got more and more primal rate kills as they played in this tournament. Now, I know Twix, and we're going to discuss in the separate episode, was like Winston's probably are not like the best way to secure kills. They're like it's not their role or whatever. It's like they have to either alleviate the supports from the pressure they get, or they have to chase other things. But it's been the trend in all of Apex that the best Winston players also manage to secure lots of kills.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they're only aggressive, but the whole toolkits, like the gun that can't be negated. Their what's called the weapon they use, Winston. This railgun or whatever. His railgun damage can't be mitigated in any sense because it passes over shields. So a shield won't block Winston damage. At the same time, his jump back has instant damage that can also not be blocked. and therefore it's like, you know, his whole toolkit can secure more kills, and you see like this steady increase in kills he secures with primary raids. And in today's match, you also see so many times that he went and popped off while in primary raids, like securing 2 kills on support or securing another crucial kill and all these things. So when you're talking about one tricks, when you're talking about what we're going to discuss later on, it's like you need to see their graphs, right? And in all of their graphs, in all of these one tricks graph, there was a slow decline, except in like was there an exception? I don't think there was an exception, because all of them also fell out of the tournament, so the stats naturally declined. But yeah, there was like this decline, and when you're going for this kind of duo DPS, you know, the Soldier Tracer against Winstons that are on the rise, that their blades getting, you know, better and better, you need to be prepared, right? There's no other way. Like, maybe they will shut you down, and what you do then when you get shut down? Do you stick to your guns and just keep with brutal force to bypass all the obstacles, or do you adapt, change something so as to get a better edge over them?
Yeah, most definitely. And it's in general, that's also probably one of the strength of a, you know, it just makes sense to me that once a one trick, because a one trick gets more time on his specific hero to improve in scrims, he gets more experience on a specific hero for the different situations. His job is to improve his performance. If his performance even stays as much as equal, that's a problem. You're the one trick. You're supposed to improve your performance at a quicker rate than the others that are flexing around you, right?
Yeah, let's go and draw some Bunny's infographics from BK Stars, which was another one trick, I think. And he was playing Tracer even before that, like from season 1, I think. He was known for his Tracer play, right? Almost in the same sense as Valutaja in the West. Okay, the pick is missing because I haven't really updated.
Is he missing all?
Yeah, I mean, he's MIA right now. Anyways, so you see basically that his tournament stats as a whole are okay, like for a Tracer main, because he secured many kills, like 10 kills on average per 10 minutes. It's a good stat. Yep. His deaths, though, are towards the higher end. You will see later on that most Tracer plays are like 5 deaths per 10 minutes or something like that. The best Tracer are even below. That's like, they can be like 4.5. Anyways, let's slow down, because this is also an interesting thing to note, that he has played on 3 games, right? It's on the good stage, and then they're out. So he was carrying, okay? Bunny was carrying his team because his PTK was gradually growing. Yeah, it wasn't really like, you know, that big of a spike, like from 20% to 45% or something. These numbers aren't really possible. Yeah. So it's like for Tracers or for any card DPS player, 30% is a really high performance. Yes. Maybe 33, maybe 35. Yeah. If they decimate their opponent by themselves somehow, but above that, it's really hard to achieve it. Anything like, it's like your team is missing from any kind of action. So let's go to the next diagram, and I think this one is the deaths on average, right? The below one. So in the deaths graph, you will see a spike in his match against Team EnVyUs, right? You will see
makes sense, yeah.
his lowest deaths were in the match against Rhinos Gaming, which
was the weakest team, right?
Unarguably was the weakest team
out of the 3. Most definitely. So, I mean, that's to be expected, and that always needs to be taken in context, right? You can't just say, okay, he had a better performance. Obviously, he had a better performance, like numerically, but relatively to, you know, the strengths of his opponent, that's, you still need to see that in context of the actual match, right? It also depends, like, if you lose a couple of maps or whatever, right? Even if you're winning and whatever, right? That's all part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it shows that when they went against, EnVyUs, which had a better tracer or probably like a better team overall, in this meta, his deaths skyrocketed, like compared to his average performance. Even one death more on average is really big deal in this kind of sense, like one death per 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because if you multiplied it with the actual duration of the match that was played, it's like 5 more deaths.
Yeah.
Anyways, so
95% hero usage is nutty, right? That's I would think, I haven't actually looked at the other graphs of the other plays, but that seems to be only possible on Tracer almost, right? Or
I think so
maybe
too.
I would think like even Lucio's flex more these days.
No. I think you can see definitely see 95% hero usage on Lucius. I mean, I
Okay.
think Luffy. Yeah. So we can check it, but some players on Lucio have like 100%.
Oh, really?
Not even changing.
Okay.
On some teams, it depends on the play style.
Well, it's
So-
not the better play. So if you think, even like, let's think. So Harry Hook definitely flexes a ton. He plays soldier half the time, not half, but yeah. Toby, I guess, plays a big bunch of.
Toby this season is probably 100% on.
Okay, yeah, okay. So that we have the example, right? But yeah, 95% is pretty
He's a one
high.
trick.
Yeah.
Toby is one trick. Toby is the one trick Lucio.
Yeah.
I mean,
but like, as far as Teresa goes, especially because it still feels like there were applications during the season where not playing Tracer could have also led to victory, right? Was it definitely 100% meta all the time?
Tracer?
Yeah.
I mean, there haven't been any meta shifts in Epic Season 3, so I guess so. But again, like, this is the problem, and that's why I like to do my analysis on a per-match basis, so I can see the peaks and lows. The group stage is not really indicative of the performance of any kind of team, unless there's like the group of death, like the one between Concrete Pathera, Rogue, and Tuladi High, where there that the data you can collect will probably give you a good idea of how they will do in playoffs. But in the case of EnVyUs, in the case of Meta Athena, in the case of Luxury Watch Blue, you see them like passing their group stage with flying colors and then crumbling in the playoffs. Because this season especially, I don't think that all the teams that participated, especially from the Korean side, were like top notch. Like Rhinos Gaming, a big question mark there. BK Stars, another big question mark. Like sure they have the stars, but they don't have the team. And yeah, so let's go on. Let's go on to Sebi Olbi, which was another one trick this season, because I think in the previous season he flexed a lot. Let me check his graphs one moment.
Should I jump to the pick rate? He played, I think I remember he played a little bit of Soldier. So like half an hour of Soldier. Oh, in this graph he has 99%, right? So that's pretty crazy, right? Yeah, he played, or was it 5 minutes? Maybe I'm mistaking him for someone, but yeah, in this infographic he has 99% of his 4 hours and 10 minutes played is 99% Tracer. That's pretty nutty, right?
Yeah, that's pretty nutty. And if you consider that in Epic Season 2 he flexed to Roadhog a lot. Basically, Roadhog was his better hero there. He also played Soldier. He also played some Reaper, some Genji as well, and the off pick Bastion probably for stall picks. I think that it was like he had flexed. Let's say he flexed between 3 heroes, right? Roadhogs, Tracer, and Soldier 76. But in this season, because of how the meta works, and because he had like also Flower or Pine, yeah. So they had like better Soldier aim than him. He had to stick to Trace, right? He couldn't break out his Roadhog because Roadhog is not in the meta anymore. He's like an ultimate feeder. and therefore he was another player that in this season he was really limited to play only Tracer. Okay, and basically he was one trick. And you can see when Kong to Pathera sat him down, when Lunatic High sat the whole team down, basically, he struggled a lot. Like, especially against Kong to Pathera, people saw it before in the graph that this was the spike. The moment that his average death spiked a lot in that match versus Kong to Pathera, which means that he specifically had a really tough time against them. Like, even in the next match against Blood High, which was a much more decimating score, I think they went 3-1 against Kong to Pathera. I think they went 3-0 against Blood High. I'm not entirely sure. Need to check this the match scores. So in Blood High, he had like an average performance. Like, what do we expect of him? Like, his death ratio wasn't even that bad. But in Kong to Pathera, he skyrocketed, like, compared to his average performance. Yeah. And this means that in this specific match he was getting shut down. And when you get, and the interesting thing that people need to note, right? When you get shut down and you can't flex or you can't switch heroes, it's like a liability for your team, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Playing with a bird card, you can't really do anything. Sure, you can try and say that I can try, but I don't think it works like that. So I guess Luxury got split, it was 3-1. Against Kong to Pathera, it was 3-1, and against Lunatic High, it was 3-0. And you see here the better performance death-wise against Lunatic High than.
I think one thing that you also need to consider is that it's not even that your team doesn't need to play Tracer, but for instance, the way Kong to Pathera does it, they still have a Tracer going on, but it's maybe not Birdring playing her, because Birdring is playing Genji at that point. Or maybe Rascal feels like playing Genji, because they are then flexible in these situations, right? And that's like that's the problem when the talent sits on one player and you need to play both of these heroes at the same time. Now, if you're one trick, you're giving your team no leeway, right? There's no way for your team to play certain compositions that would, like, for instance, if the other DPS player is an excellent Genji as well as an excellent soldier, well, the one trick is still the Tracer. So what are you going to do, right? Clone the other DPS? Doesn't work that well, right? So it's a bad situation.
And you brought a fine point up, because that's a big thing right now in Overwatch, like composition diversity. It's not only about whether the team can play a certain hero, like if they have a player, but if they can give him, like, even a Tracer, okay, even if we say, like what you said, like Rascal and Birdring, they can play Tracer, so their style is different, like when playing that hero. So one style gets shut down because it probably has some predictable kind of things, like, you know, he moves in this kind of manner, or he's going for this target, or his aim is a bit off for that specific match. And then you switch the hero to another player, and he does wonders because he's like more relaxed, or his aim tracking is better, and therefore you can utilize still the hero on another player. If you don't have this kind of flexibility though, and like you can play the Tracer on team level, but composition wise you can't really allocate it to another player, it really limits. This was a problem with Rogue. This was a problem with Sun. Can we roll
sure.
the Sun infographic? And it's really interesting to see that Sun's pulse bomb performance was probably the most exciting thing. He was consistent. It went down a bit as the tournament progressed, but he probably had the best pulse bomb performance of all Apex Tracers. Yeah. But you see right now in his tournament stats, before that, on the top, basically, that's
got him.
Okay. In his tournament stats, he also had probably the most deaths at Tracer, like 7.1 on average, in 10 minutes. That's almost like you see, like he kills someone and he dies the next moment.
Yeah. Thing is, obviously they had a really hard group. If we're looking now at this, like, it's Lunatic High, it's Kong to Pathera, that's the finalists, and then Mighty AOD, we talked about it, like, could also be a top 8 team in Korea, right? Could have been. So
Let me check. I think that effect stats against this team were not like that.
obviously, yeah. I mean, in a way, the match against Mighty AOD, and I guess we can, if we look at the graph here, it should have been a little bit more stats padding, almost, right? Like, okay, so by the way, so just so people see, 97% hero usage on Soon, and kill breakdown. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but it's actually interesting to see that the most ultimate kills, or rather that it isn't that big of a difference between the performance against Mighty AOD and Kongdu Panthera. And obviously there's a pretty steep difference, right, between these teams. And then obviously it drops off really hard against Lunatic High. But
yeah, but it's still like that drop is expected because they got decimated. So yeah, and he was like dying a lot. That's the issue, right?
That he was dying a lot, yeah.
If you die a lot, and I mean, his skills on average were really low compared to other Tracer.
Let's do a quick comparison just to show people, right? So Effect gets 11 kills per 10 minutes, and that's obviously okay. Keep in mind always asterisks the teams they're playing against, right?
Yeah, teams.
Rogue playing against the two best teams in the tournament. EnVyUs playing against shitters mostly, right? So like okay, so even Bunny has 10.1, then Soon has 7.5, and Sabiolbi has 8.0, right? So, I mean, there's also something maybe to be said about the weight these teams put onto their traces, because, oh, sorry, I actually didn't show it that well. Because, so for instance, if we think about Rogue, there's a lot of impact coming from AKM, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we are thinking about Sabiolbi, there's a lot of impact coming either from Pine or from Flower, right?
Yeah.
So and then obviously then yes, there is impact coming from Taimu too, but again, as we pointed out, like they are flexing around him. It's not like, right? They need to accommodate him, and they also play around him. So this is the difference that these stats can make. And then obviously, like, this is a statistically definitely, significant portion. And then, Sabiolbi with 8.0, which is significantly worse than, for instance, Effect has. It's like he was playing against not that awesome teams, Okay, Combox, we can talk about them, but MVP Space, Flashlux, it's like, okay, Combox again, and then obviously against the best two, yeah, that's all fine.
And you know what's the interesting thing? That Birdring had on average 10 kills.
Okay.
Tracer.
You wanna go to the god? Okay, let's go. Because here comes Birdring, okay? And I wanna look at this from this way. 64% only. Not a one trick, right? So Birdring played a bunch of if I remember correctly, a bunch of no, let me
Soldiers, Genji played.
Yes. Let me actually. I'll bring it up, but
like a taste of Roadhog as well, like 8%, 6% on Tracer, on Soldier. He also played a bit of Widowmakers, depending on the maps and whatever.
So they like basically play everything like that they feel like in that very specific moment. And then let me actually, so let me bring it up so viewers actually have something nice to look at. So yeah, Birdring, this is during the entire season of Apex. He played 40 minutes of Genji, he played 4 hours of Tracer, or almost 4 hours. Then he played actually like a bunch of Widowmaker, right? 25 minutes is not insignificant.
Yeah, it's 7%. It's 7%.
Forget about McCree. Roadhog is interesting, but that was more towards the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
Soldier is interesting. Anna inconsequential. Farah inconsequential. Okay, so he's not a one trick. He's far from, right?
No. And
so
the win rate with these heroes is also interesting, right?
Yeah.
Only on Genshin he has a negative win rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to his stats. He's still at on Tracer. we have to say. He's at 10 kills per minute,
Yeah.
right? So
it's towards the higher end.
obviously, like, his other stats then become, are different because this entails the entirety of his hero pool. So
Yeah. These are the tournament stats, like all of his tournament.
Exactly.
Combined.
So also take these, average ults per minute.
This is another interesting fact when you're looking at numbers, or when you try to compose numbers. Like one tricks, they don't really have any kind of difference if you look at the heroes stats or if you look at the tournament stats. It's one the same, because 99% or 95%, it's almost like it went down from 10.8 to 10.7 in the tournament stats, because they messed up in the other hero they played. It's not even like comparable, or it's not even mentioned. It doesn't even need to be mentioned that they have a difference in their stats. It's only the same thing. But for players that are not one tricks, you really need to go and see the hero stats so as to see how well they did on that specific hero.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting how Birdring, like, and there's something to be said in today's games that. Okay, let me throw this at you, and I guess you can muse on this. Who was the better tracer today, Effect or Birdring?
Birdring for me.
I think so too, and that's just think about this. He's not the one-trick pony, right?
No.
So he's the one that's actually doing all the. He's not the one that the entire team is built around, right? He's sort of filling in and then really playing off of Rascal, and Rascal is playing off of him. Then obviously they have a Fissure was like a great pickup for them. Like if you think about before the season, it was a strange situation, right?
Come on.
Yeah, you know what I'm bringing to, right? So, for me, when Radon asked us to evaluate these situations, I was like, okay, I'm looking at the groups, and there's Rogue in there, there's Lunatic High in there, Mighty AD, whatever, and then there's Kongdom Panthera. And I've been a Birdring fanboy for the longest time. I wouldn't say fanboy, but really, because he always impressed me, right? So I thought, because I was hearing about the scrim results, and it just made sense that the team would not immediately be on the rise, or just immediately ready to go if you reassemble a team. So I was like, okay, if you actually give KDP the chance to develop, they would eventually come to their own and then be, a force to be reckoned with. I actually tweeted this out. You can see it here. Me being a smug asshole. Remember when I told you that KDP had a great chance of winning Apex if they got out of groups? And then before this season is over, you will all have to kiss the ring, right? So, okay, just briefly before we close this up, right? Because we're going to 50 minutes. How do you evaluate Birdring's performance right now? How do you rank him? Do you have any comments about him?
I think it will be interesting to see him playing against Lunatic High, which be known that as a team that has had down so many other teams in this tournament. Kongdom Panthera is this is a really cool storyline going to the semi-finals, the finals, sorry, because these two teams have played each other 2 times already, and the first time it went towards Lunatic High's role. It went in favor of Lunatic High. The second one went in favor of Kongdom Panthera, and I think the scores were also close, right? Was it 3-2 both times? I think it.
Yeah.
Or was it?
I think
was it 3-1 in the second time? I mean, I haven't checked the scores.
Good question. It could have been 3-1 the second time.
Yeah, it was. The second time it was 3-1. Okay, and you know that in the first instinct mode, losing Volskaya because they haven't prepared it, and now they're going to be more prepared in all these things. And the trend in Birdring's graph shows that he's going to main a lot of Tracer, right? I mean, he's been steadily increasing the time he stays on Tracer. In today's match, he was like 78%, so he's close like 80% in every playoffs match. So I think he's going to do great. I think he's probably the X factor, not like the X factor as in an unknown quantity, but I think his style can be like the upset that Lunatic can't really contain. They would probably not be able to contain him. And since he has all these other heroes, even this match he brought out, Soldier, he brought out other heroes, like 78% means that 20% of the time played was on other heroes. I think he's going to do great. And if he picks, like he can, because I think that Birdring is like the guy that he can pick like time, he can pop off, he can play on the edges, he can create openings, he can create all these things. I have him. Yeah, I have him like probably the MVP of the season right now.
Ooh, that's a. I think
in the DPS department.
Yes.
In the DPS department, I would say that because I don't like to say like the MVP in every department. Like,
yeah.
In the like, Fisher is probably the MVP if they win over Lunatic High. Fisher is also the way being tanks, right? In the main tanks, because
could be, or Miro then. Maybe.
If he wins, it's Miro. If he wins, it's Fisher. But I would give it to Fisher even if Miro comes on top, because his progress has been his performance has progressed. Whereas Miro was always like the Winston main, so he's playing in his back here right now. It's not like he's transcended any levels or whatever. It's like he's just playing with his team even more, coordinated, even more coordinated.
Yeah.
Fisher, I think, has been from the start of the season till now has been constantly reaching new heights, right?
Yeah.
So if he wins the match, he's definitely, undoubtedly, the MVP in the tank area, right?
Okay.
And for healers,
I mean, come on. There's one name. Don't say any other name.
Waka.
Oh yeah. No, but
no, I think Rizzo Hong is still
obviously like he's still a monster, and I would say if someone was to give out an MVP award, it is currently between Birdring and Rizzo Hong, like just in general of players.
No. If it's like the whole, I think Eska is the MVP.
Oh, you know how that works sometimes, like. So yeah. we like our metaphors, right? And specifically, we like on this show the metaphors. We had the Lord of the Ratings, right? And there is, in a way, if you think about what.
Let me tell people right now. I have no idea what's coming. Right? this is all on.
Let's go. So if you think about what kind of story the Lord of the Rings is, it's a story basically of the end times in a way, right? If they don't succeed, an eschatological event will take place and it's all gone, right? But there's one person, and in every eschatological tale, there's always one person that can make the difference, right? And in Lord of the Rings, it's obviously, who is it? Frodo. So who is there to throw the Birdring into the into the volcano? There's only one who can do it, right?
That's great.
There's only one way they can do it is in the sense that
and Guido is Sam. Guido, it makes perfect sense now.
Okay, so let's summarize, right?
We need to do this in the next episode, basically, or in another one, going to the finals. Guido is Sam because he has taken the role of the ring bearer, like the tracer bearer, because right now
exactly.
Eska is on Sombra and on other things.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Are you ready? Because I'm going to blow your mind. If Eska is Frodo, Sam is Guido, who's Gollum? It's Yiska, mate. It's Yiska. My precious Birdring has made it to the finals. and now we're we're here to celebrate him and to get him back, right? He should. There's no way he's supposed to be destroyed. It all comes together. You see how true of a hero's tale this is? It's perfect.
We created the next bestseller in the Overwatch history.
Very good. And I guess with that we can leave you with episode 10 of Overrated. See you guys next time.